Good morning, Keith Tebow, back with you today. It is Thursday morning and time for our weekly conversation with the mayor of the city of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan. Mayor, how are you today?
Doing fine, Keith.
Last week we talked a little bit about, the incoming Biden administration. You talked about how you hope for some cooperation from the new administration going forward and the support, of course, of our U.S. Congress, congressional, and Senate delegation. One thing that I want to ask you about, sort of dovetails a little bit into, our conversations on the pandemic, is on Tuesday evening there was a memorial service that was held in Washington to commemorate the 400,000 Americans that have perished in the COVID during the pandemic. And this week it was not a good week for Fall River in terms of COVID numbers. We passed a $10,000 infection rate in terms of the number of citizens in Fall River that have contracted COVID since last year. Do you sort of take into consideration and think about, the impact this has had, or is it just been, you're trying to deal with it day in and day out? I guess, do you do a deep thought when we reach such, milestones?
No, you have to think deeply about the situation that the entire state is in. I mean, actually, just think of this. I mean, a year ago, who would have predicted that this is what we'd be going through? And that's the sad part of this whole thing. Whether it's the testing, vaccines, regretfully, the people that pass away, the number of positives, where the outbursts are, it weighs on your mind all the time, and it's really sad. I responded to a young lady last night on Facebook that said, "What's going on in the city?" And I started listing stuff. And then I stopped typing because I just didn't want to keep putting down what we're doing. At the same time, we are planning a memorial service for Fall River residents that have unfortunately passed away during this. And we're going to do something in the spring. I mean, I really hope this vaccine pulls us out the other side. I think it's, I call it the beginning of hope. If we can get enough vaccines in here and people get the vaccine and we start to get something built up, we're gonna be fine. But we just got a little more work to do. I said yesterday on one of the interviews, I said we're just cresting Heartbreak Hill in the marathon, and we still got 7 miles of running to go, but we're going to get there.
And that actually dovetails into an event that's happening today. You're holding a press conference later on this afternoon at the new Stop the Spread testing site at Bristol Community College, where you'll talk about what's happening at that site, as well as potential plans for vaccinations. From what you hear, how has that site been working in terms of, the new Stop the Spread site? Used to be at Seven Hills Behavioral and at Star. It's now shifted to that location. Are things, as far as you know, running smoothly there?
Yes, our first reports have been it's running extremely well. I was up there on Saturday. They had a soft opening even before they put it out to the public, and there was probably 10 or 12 cars in line. They have a trailer set up in the parking lot. And we'll go up there today and get a first-hand look at how it's going. I have heard nothing negative. As far as the other side of the campus with the vaccine site, I've been in there a few times. They have it set up pretty well. They've been doing all of our first responders, and hopefully we'll be getting some more vaccines. I got a call today with the lieutenant governor about getting vaccines into Fall River, and they were kind enough to give us a couple of drugstores, CVS and Walgreens. We'll also be doing some vaccinations. So we're going to be fine. We just got work to do.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. The state has opened up these mass vaccination sites at Gillette Stadium and at Fenway Park. They announced this week, and they did announce, as you said, that the CVS pharmacy on President Avenue and the Walgreens at Plymouth Avenue are going to be location sites. Are you also hopeful that there'll be more of a mass vaccination site as we move forward? I know a lot's going to hinge on what President Biden is working on moving forward. Are you hoping that there may be some regional closer to our location, a mass vaccination site?
Well, I'm okay with a mass vaccination site, but I really prefer all of our pharmacies to have the ability to give vaccines. I prefer another vaccination site in the South End. We've talked about a few things. We've talked about a couple other places, one in Westport, where we may have a large vaccination site. I just don't know about a mass vaccination site. I mean, if they're doing 4,000 or 5,000 people a day, some people drive up in a car and they do a U-turn. They don't want to get involved with something that big. But again, if we can personalize it a little bit for Fall River residents, that would be my priority. But we'll go with whatever they decide to do.
All right, shifting gears just a little bit this week during the city council meeting, during financial, they were talking about the financial situation of the city in terms of, current situations, and we'll go into that at another time. But there was a mention of the fact that there are more applicants for the city administrator position. Can you fill us in on any details on how that's moving along?
Yeah, we did some interviews yesterday. We had a little bit of a crew together doing it. We had the council president in on the interviews, Cliff Pond, and we run a pretty standard interview. We have a 45-minute interview. We ask a series of questions, the same to everybody, and at least one candidate came out on top. But we're not going to disclose any names. We were very pleased with the quality of the candidates, and going forward, we'll see if we can get something done.
And one of the aspects we talked about before was the salary of the position that may not be attractive for some of those professionals rather that may be interested in the position. Has that changed at all? Is the salary still set the way you had set it previously?
No, we put a range in there because again, we haven't spent a penny on a city administrator yet. So we haven't used a half a year's salary, and again, going forward, we want to attract the best person. So there's a range now, and we'll see how that affects the final decision on what to pay them and who we hire.
All right. Okay, Mayor, short and sweet this week. I appreciate the update, and we'll talk again next week. Have a great weekend.
Okay, Keith. Thank you.